Hello, and welcome to Resolve, an afterplay show. This is an after show for a role-playing game that does not have an actual play, where we tell you all the details of our game so you don't have to listen to it. I'm Sammie, I'll be your host, my pronouns are she, her, and I play Asiri Amoli, the mermaid. Joining me is my wonderful co-host, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I use he, him pronouns. I play Moogle bounty hunter Smog and his companion Juice, both use he, him pronouns.
We are joined today by Carolyn.
Hello, I'm Carolyn. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I play the miniature horse Pony who believes she is actually a unicorn.
All right, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Now that we're all here, Alex, why don't you tell us about the actual play?
Previously in EFFETE, before the events at the end of the previous session, Pony and Horsefly search for scrap for a new harpoon. They locate the old harpoon, stuck in a rock. Deciding that this is a test for a ruler, they return to town to declare it. But then as his spectral arrows hit Horsefly, Horsefly releases Black Ichor into a beastly figure, and Pony runs. Asiri and Juice help Mrs. Weaver to bed. Smog reviews Juice's camera footage. Smog notices fractals and Tao's ribbon not appearing. Smog creates a portal to the world of the lost for spear materials. Mining the concepts of them, they're able to bring the water bubble, rig, and the camera. They locate bones and a message from the master. On return, they do not have the bones or the items they brought in. Smog chants to create a new bubble for Asiri. Athenos, Tao, and Geyser see a flash from town. Athenos scoops up Geyser, Tao, and Pony with help from Tao. They find Smog and Asiri in the center of town and Father Shade standing asleep by light magic. Smog, Juice, and Asiri return to Sequence Charter, the rest resisting the pull. Asiri's bubble control is restored. Smog creates the Twilight Spear from Asiri's memory, Psychoglass, and Ichor. They return to the world of spirit. Smog and Asiri offer the spear to Athenos and ask for a peaceful solution. With Asiri's guidance, Athenos tosses the spear. The party appears in the world of the lost, in front of a cave, and the beast stuck with the spear.
So now that we've heard the actual play, let's do a deep dive into the session. Right off the bat, Pony kind of got her own little aside, partially due because you weren't here last week.
Yeah.
A lot of fun to see Pony on her own and see what she does without influence from the rest of the party.
Something I've realized about Pony, she thinks she's braver than she is. For a second, like just a second and a half maybe, she thought she could, get the spear and attack the beast, but then she realized, oh shit, this thing has horsefly. I'm gonna book it into the woods and hide in this log. In the log, she was kind of formulating a plan okay, I'm gonna catch it by surprise when its back is turned, and then I will attack it. But that did not happen.
I love the audacity that Pony has, 98% of the time, and then the second it shrivels up, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think we were all expecting that Pony was going to, try to grab Horsefly's body and move out or something, but immediately running was a little bit of a surprise.
She knows that she's not strong enough or capable enough to drag Horsefly out of harm's way. From her previous encounter with the beast, she knew how fast it was.
I also love that because of Pony being from fairy tale land, immediately on seeing a weapon stuck in a rock with, didn't get to mention this in the recap, just a bunch of that disgusting ichor all over is yes, this is a test.
Well, exactly. I mean, what else is a sword in a stone for?
Well, we have a spear, a stone, and a bunch of slime, so I don't know what story this is going to tell, but it's certainly something.
I wonder if there is a little bit to that, though, and we're just not seeing it because we're not in Pony brain. There was another thing that happened that was sort of similar when the light from Disco Moon came down and hit presumably the beast, something going on out in the woods.
The beast was inside Horsefly, and then the arrows hit Horsefly and then hit the beast.
A little bit before that, when the huge burst of light came down and you're oh, it's a shooting star.
Yes, because you wish upon shooting stars. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, and we saw that previously when Pony met Horsefly for the first time. I was oh, do I need to kiss this frog to turn it back? I love the whimsy.
Dan was so good at like setting up the little hints. I feel like Horsefly being a frog was definitely a nudge to do like a frog prince kiss thing. Didn't quite go like that, but Pony still made a friend. I'm pleasantly surprised how well Pony's getting along with Horsefly, because her character doesn't normally like to get along with human characters, but he's half toad, so he's half okay.
That's something that I feel like all three of our characters are getting to explore in this environment, because Smog also just fucking hates people, but he sees some sort of redemption in them and that they're able to turn into animals and don't just exist in their homes trying to destroy the land.
I don't know if it's quite as extreme for Asiri, because she's not used to people as you and I understand humans, I guess. She just sees the Oanzu.
Mm-hmm.
They're just creatures in their environment. Clearly, this is how they're supposed to be. I'm also quite enamored, and I don't know if Dan made any changes or if this was just cosmically aligned, but the fact that Horsefly has stuck around Pony, who is a horse, so much, that just pleases me.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was a name he came up with in the moment, because we didn't necessarily have to go out there. I'm sure he had like a hunter character in mind, but I think Pony being there alone, that might have sealed the deal.
Very true. Pony's actually gone off alone quite a few times at this point. She doesn't seem to like to stay with the group.
Yeah, that's something we kind of touched base on a little bit last week with Dex. We seem to all have our own little machinations and their own plans. We're all pulling in 6 different directions. But I think with this session, we kind of solidified at least a couple of our planning orientations.
Yeah, we tried to converge things. I don't know about my point of view as a player about how we've split stuff up, but from like Smog's point of view, things are working fine. Like everyone's off doing things that work to his ends. So it's good.
Yeah.
So we know that Pony wished over and over again for her magic powers.
Yes.
What do you think Horsefly wished for?
Oh, yeah, he didn't say, because if you say it doesn't come true. Horsefly's a simple man. I think he wished for parts for a harpoon, maybe the last half of his wall back.
Based on what he said afterwards, like immediately following it, he probably wished to find the beast so he could hunt it down. It sounds like he was still in the thrill of the chase.
Instead of wishing the beast wasn't like attacking people and making them fall asleep. Horsefly will put the legwork in, I will give him that.
He wants the glory.
I don't know about that. I think he's just having a good time hunting things. I think that's just what he does. Smog finally reviewed his camera footage at long last.
Oh yeah, there's certain anomalies on the footage.
What do you think is going on there?
We've come into this campaign originally in like a sci-fi sort of environment, but we have so many like high fantasy stuff intermixed and mythology related stuff. It's hard to say if the images of like fractal art and stuff that were shown on the screen is part of like a sci-fi, like we're in a simulation sort of thing, or if it's just the feeble mortal mind not being able to comprehend the enigmatic.
Like those Lovecraftian AI movies where everything is like changing and it's a frog, but then the frog turns into a tree, but then there's no clear delineation between the two.
Yeah.
Maybe all our stuff is in like a pocket space that's just tight enough to hold the object, because it's not like the camera saw any other stuff when it was in there. It was just the camera was suspended somewhere and seeing a bunch of fractals and weird things, like some data was being created, and then there was light and we were back in the world of spirit.
Dan said the camera wasn't like moving or panning, right? So it was just focused on one sort of plane.
Yeah, it seemed to be that like something was shifting in the camera's vision, but it wasn't clear if that was like moving or anything. It didn't seem like other stuff that the party had was there. It lasted the amount of time that we would have been asleep. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's so weird. There's so many unanswered questions about the World of the Lost.
We just made it more mysterious by going there again.
Did you guys say exactly what kind of bones you found for the spear material?
It was just like those weird neon animals that we'd run into previously in the World of the Lost, because remember, I think Athenos like butchered a bunch of them around our little fire pit.
Yeah, we found some freaky neon bones, and Smog was hoping to use those to craft the spear.
Yeah, well, we got in too easy, and unfortunately leaving was not as easy. I was like, there's gotta be a catch, and then we got the catch.
Yeah, Asiri was the worst person to go in that way.
Yeah, Asiri was not having a great time. I wonder how many times the series going to lose her bubble in this campaign.
I mean, at least we have plenty of people who are good at casting magic.
Yay.
And maybe we'll be carrying some extra Psycho Glass on us from now on.
That might be a good plan, because it's very resourceful material.
I love controlling things with my mind.
Same.
Must be nice.
I mean, Pony could use it. There's no magic element to it.
That is true. She just hasn't had an opportunity yet.
The one thing that the party couldn't have any special experience in, all learning together, like manipulating Psycho Glass, because now we know they'll provide it to us, even though it's kind of rare for them.
Inadvertently, that means Asiri has the most experience just by proxy with it just being around her person this entire time.
Smog has done a little more like purposeful shaping of it, but Asiri has sort of this unconscious aspect to it now, which is interesting.
I'm going to be playing with that a little bit more now that I think she's seen the exact extent what she can do with it. Like previously she's like broken off little bubbles from it, just like separate from her main bubble, but I think she's going to be a bit more creative going forward with using it.
Make ice spears pop out of your bubble or something.
Yeah, that would be dope as hell.
You're just become a warrior's character.
Oh no. Oh no. But yeah, we were in the World of the Lost. I was shocked on how easy it was to get back there with Smog's just little dark portal thing.
That is what the move is for. So if I was in a GM position, it would be hard for me to say, like, you just can't go there. If it was in my game where I even tried to close off worlds a little bit more, I'd be like, I mean, I guess we'll have to figure out some way for that to work. Siri
being the creature, little gremlin thing that she is, she saw these bones and was like, well, these aren't normal animals, clearly. So let me taste one and see what that's about. And apparently it made her feel really angry and really bitey. So about the same reaction when she's already chewing on bones regardless. I wonder if there's any other emotional control or manipulation stuff going on in the World of the Lost that we just haven't spent enough time to find out about yet.
That might be related to the beast, because Athenos was picking up a very similar feeling when everybody was back at the church and Father Shade had sent off his magic. He was feeling godly anger in the air.
Oh.
So I wonder if that's just a sign of the beast.
Could be. Those animals were all very aggressive, and I wonder, other than cleansing what shouldn't belong there, why they would just team up and attack like that, if they have some other agenda.
Oh, no.
What?
The beast forms aren't, like, awake and active when they're in their humanoid forms.
Yeah, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What if we beat up a bunch of people's, like, beast forms when we were in the World of the Lost?
We haven't run into any people who have complained about not being able to turn back. We also haven't asked either.
It might have been people who have started falling asleep completely anyway.
Yeah.
But if it's related to the beast, that seems like it could be something.
That's so bad. I don't like that.
They lose their turning abilities.
No, they're just little guys. They don't need that.
I mean, is that what the beast is doing to them too? Because it's like coming completely out of them. It's taking the beast aspect of themselves out of it, as we saw like very viscerally with Horsefly.
When Dan described like Susie transforming or any of the other characters transforming, there hasn't been a black ichor or any sort of darkness that happens during that. It's just totally like animorphs into whatever their final form is. It's not impossible, but it feels like a stretch.
Upsetting implications.
I don't like that. I would be very sagged.
No. I'm just sort of looking at the order of the notes here, and I'm looking at the one scene where Thanos just grabs everybody up and remembering how desperate that was.
Yeah, because he's just like done. He just wants to get this sorted. Everyone needs to go now.
Carolyn, were you happy that Pony got yeeted out of hiding?
A little bit. Pony was disappointed that she didn't have a chance to take on the beast one-on-one. Because she really was thinking to herself, okay, cool, it's mano-a-mano time. But, you know, she can't resist a Thanos. He's just so impressive.
I should mention, just to like clarify it, Pony was not with that part of the group then, and Tao was able to locate her using their ability to find people that they have links with. I can't remember exactly which move that is. but I think it's from maybe the Friend playbook. That Thanos just already had Geyser and Tao and just scooped Pony up. Tao had to yell about the situation.
Like, literally just picked up the tree that Pony was hiding in and just cocked it over his shoulder and kept going. God, why did we have a giant man here?
All I want to do is see you turn into
a giant furry.
A giant furry.
But yeah, Thanos came into this with like an agenda too. He's sick of whatever pettiness, and this has been going on for too long. Thanos was like, all right, we're finishing this tonight, we're going back to village, we're taking care of shop, whatever needs to get done. And he sort of forced himself into like the position of leadership here, especially given that Father Shade was found unconscious now. So he's sort of the de facto in charge one, just being the biggest person in the room. You think that's going to change any of the opinions of the townspeople on him?
That is a good question. I'm going to say yes, just because we've seen how much the townspeople love Father Shade. And also, anytime an outsider comes in and starts telling others what to do, that can get a little dicey.
But that's the interesting thing, right? Because we heard finally that Father Shade was not originally from this town. He flew in from out of town, according to Horsefly, several years ago and sort of just rooted himself here.
That is true, but they've had several years to get used to Father Shade.
True.
Thanos just walked in 10 minutes ago. Not literally 10 minutes ago, but
It's incredibly sus that Father Shade knows how to use some sort of light magic, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say anything. It's like, where did he learn that? And not only is it light magic, it's specifically look like sun magic.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Father Shade is actually the person we're supposed to be looking for to be their Twilight, or has managed to manifest more of the sun deity.
In what way?
I'm just thinking about the name, honestly, and being Shade, like it's not complete darkness, needs light to exist. I was thinking about that sort of thing, and being the leader of the church that wants to shift between the two things. The ability to cast a straight up little miniature sun spell has me thinking there's something more intense there.
God, I feel stupid because now that you say it out loud, Shade is, of course, in the darkness. Like, of course he knows something, right? Like,
opposite of light and all.
I feel dumb.
No!
Holy shoot.
You didn't even think about that name before?
No!
Oh.
It's just hilarious because the amount of time I spend thinking about the names for characters and places and stuff. I don't know why that one, the most obvious one, went over my head.
It's a little tangential today, but there was some Pokemon thing I saw on social media, and someone posted Applin for some reason, and was like, worm with a Y in apple, and there were multiple people liking a tweet under that. It was just like, I just got this!
Yeah. It's a worm and an apple. Worm is dragon, also.
I love it.
Best Pokemon of Gen 8, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, design-wise, I do really like that line. Although I also like Frostmoth.
Same. Snom's my baby.
Frostmoth is so beautiful, but I feel like Applin had a little more thought put into its design, or at least more, fun. I don't know, I just like those little bits of whimsy.
You know what bits of whimsies we've inserted? Smog making the Twilight Spear.
Yeah.
Speaking of design.
I got to play entirely into my bullshit this time, y'all.
Yay! Bullshit alarm! Pew, 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 pew.
I don't think Asiri was interested in going back to Sequence Charter initially, right?
Correct. She was confused by that. She's also mad because you're just like me and the fish. She has a name. But she understood in the moment that maybe her 3-syllable name was too long.
Yeah, Smog was calling out to the rest of the group, you need to start trying to resist now if you want to not go back to Sequence Charter, because he sent Juice off to hit the portal, which is called Assyria Fish.
Yes. Not very polite. But she was like, well, you need help, I need water, so let's go back. What was your goal going back? Because you just were like, all right, let's go back, and then you sort of dragged me along with you.
My thought process as a player is gone to me now. I do remember as Smog, the thought was, I can find a hidden room somewhere in this giant complex where I can cast a big gravity again and do a dark portal and try to reclaim Rig. the moment I was like, oh, but Asiri needs Psychoglass, I started thinking about Psychoglass. And I was like, oh, that's actually a very nice opposition to the beast, because it requires, usually, except for in Asiri's case, a lot of conscious control to make something interesting. And there's something about the beast power that's tied to the world of the lost that is unconscious and primal.
I like the juxtaposition between those two things, and then the way you stipulated it's designed to be, where the spear tip is like brilliant bright sunlight and the very base is just like black night, and then the transition of all the colors of the sunset in between. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to draw that at some point. I don't know when, but
just fuzzy Athenos arm holding the spear.
And then Athenos and Asiri in that scene. Holy crow. Like, what a fantastic situation.
They work really well together.
Yes, because this was the first time they've had, like, a really in-depth conversation since they met each other. When Athenos was like, you're my champion, and she's like, what? A god? Maybe not my god, but, like, a god recognized me? She got, like, star eyes and just sort of, like,
Smaug wasn't as enamored by it, but he had a little bit of that moment too, because Athenos was like, whoa, what the fuck did you make? You're like a tiny little Hephaestus. What?
Hephaestia.
Oh, right, because it's hard to remember which ones are and are not gender flipped.
Like, yeah, you come back with this dope-ass spear, and then we're like, hey, we need to take care of this now, and Athenos is like, yeah, we need to finish everything, I'm done with this shit. So he's like, if you want this done peacefully, Asiri, you're the one that needs to guide the hand here. So she does.
I should also mention that in addition to giving it a design, I named it. And I don't know, maybe I should have been like, hey, Dan, what is this? A little bit more at first. But I was very caught up in what we were talking about maybe 2 episodes ago or something. And you're like, I hope we can meet in the middle somewhere and be the Twilight with our light and dark characters. And I was like, all right, if Smaug is going to be creating this from Asiri's memories, and they're in unison going to try to present this plan to Athenos to be someone who can reconcile an issue between a sun god and a moon god, what do we need? We need a Twilight. So this is now the Twilight Spear, and that's why it started getting that design.
It has nothing to do with me recently replaying Twilight Princess for the 3000th time.
Nothing to do with sparkly vampires.
Nothing to do with sparkly vampires, please, or I will slaughter something. That is not a joke. So Athenos throws the spear backwards because we wanted to do this as peacefully as possible. Asiri had a couple of wishes she wanted to do. She wanted to resolve this as peacefully as possible. She wanted to talk to the beast to see what the hell it wanted. And then she wanted to do it as far away from everyone else, preferably on neutral ground if possible, but at least in a place where none of the villagers would get hurt or involved if things go south. So we wake up in the freaking world of the lost in front of a cave with the beast surrounded by mist and smog and whatever, and Dan cliffhanged us by like having it about to dissipate before the game ended, and I was like, God damn it!
It was Susie!
I'm going to hurt him if it's freaking Susie. I'm going to eat his throat.
I don't know. Ladybugs are carnivores.
That's true. They do eat aphids.
She could have a bloodthirsty streak we don't know about.
But she is baby.
I'm telling you, she's a tiki. She's thousands of years old.
True. Although I can't really judge because a lot of people are treating Asiri with the same baby gloves as well just because she's a sweetheart. I will like to underscore she is a predator. Yeah. She hunts and kills things all the time.
Oh yeah, about tossing the butt of the spear. It wasn't just representationally like not doing that much damage, but we were talking about like how I'd already made the design of the spear and then going back and thinking about like, okay, how does that deal with the mechanics? Because we know it's supposed to, when it hits someone, put them to sleep. So I was like, oh, it doesn't make sense for the tip. If it's shiny and sparkling to put someone to sleep, it's the butt that you have to hit them with to put them to sleep. And that's why Athenos threw the spear backwards.
Yeah, you cast concussion and knock them the hell out.
The magic is in the butt.
The magic is in the butt. Yeah, you can use the butt.
Hip chow.
Thank you. How does Pony feel about seeing the sweet-ass spear?
She is very impressed by its technical prowess. Ever since she got to use the harpoon that Horsefly loaned to her, she's gotten a taste for using weaponry because before all she had were her teeth and her hooves.
Ooh, it would be cool if you took some moves out of the playbook that has a signature weapon and had some sort of cool weapon that works with horse bod.
Oh, the Paladin is my favorite playbook I've never played with. I want to play as the Paladin so bad. I have one character in mind I want to play as the Paladin so bad, but I didn't want to do two characters from the same universe back to back. So I made a series. But the Paladin is so cool.
That would also make sense as a book for Pony to potentially grow into. You end up changing playbooks at some point.
Possibly. It's not impossible that Pony changes the playbook because right now she's a knucklehead. She's very, I love my friends and headstrong and act first, ask questions never. But if she gets a tutor or a master and gets some guidance and she gains more powers, it does make sense that her personality would change.
That would be especially interesting too if you go into the Paladin, for example, and you're still under the tutelage of Smog, because you could get real dark with that playbook real fast.
Yeah.
Straight up, there's a move that just lets you pick who lives and dies in a situation.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. You spend a bunch of links, and then you decide who lives and dies in the confrontation.
That's not great, especially since Pony still hasn't quite figured out she's being manipulated by Smog.
We've done it to everybody at this point, really, except Geyser, because it's hard to corrupt someone who's already out there doing it.
I would like to see you try, though. I will post that as a personal challenge for you.
How do you make Geyser act worse?
You get them to act better. You get them to act like a regular person.
So when they slip up, it's all the more painful.
Ugh. You don't need to be so mean all the time, Geyser. Then one time she makes somebody trip on a banana peel. You killed their mom. They fell in a crack.
And they broke their back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God damn it. I think a series is going to make Smog better, though. I think we're going to stop whenever you're starting.
I don't know. I think Smog was like, all right, things are kind of set with the series for now. So might more interested in talking to some other people coming up soon. I mean, aside from hopefully wrapping up whatever's going on with this mess and the beast.
Yeah.
It might be a hot sec before we make a ton of progress in that relationship.
That's true.
There's always going to be Juice.
There's always Juice.
Juice is such a fun character. I love all of his tentacles.
Every single one.
Oh no.
A series shares that opinion. Do you think they compare each other's tentacles?
I'm just remembering that in order to get around in the world of the Lost, Asiri was like, well, I can use my bubble, and Smog can fly, but I don't want Juice making any noise. So Smog was just like, okay, up, and had just like pushed a little bit up on Juice, and Juice like went into the bubble and then just started orbiting around Asiri.
It was so funny. I was like, that is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. Just the mental image of that. How big in diameter is Juice?
I think it made him a little bit taller than Smog, but probably not taller than his ears, so probably about 4 feet.
Okay.
That's kind of small.
But the tentacles are longer. That's just like the center mass.
Yeah.
And the tentacles don't usually go up that much. They're like flopping on the ground.
It's like this beach ball of a beholder.
Yes.
In the orb. That's so funny. That was the other thing I was thinking about when we got back from Sequence Charter, and like you were trying to hold the spear, but your little Moogle arms were struggling, so Juice was helping with the tentacles. I almost thought about like just picking the two of you up, because I'm so much larger than both of you, and I can swim infinitely faster than you guys could probably run or fly. Well, I wanted to see what you were doing with the spear first. I didn't want to interrupt whatever you had going on, but I was like, we could be there twice as fast.
I was thinking about, why does it feel natural as this tiny character who doesn't have a lot of physical strength to still hold the spear? And it was like, oh right, Juice is there. If there's ever an issue with something articulating for Smog, I just have a couple tentacles there and he's helping move it. And so during the scene where Smog offers the spear to Athenos, he has it straight down on the ground, holding it up, and then Juice is the one there that's really keeping it steady, but Smog still has his hand on it, because that's his way of saying, like, I'm doing this, and if I'm faltering, I need help with it. Juice just automatically responds. And then when offering it, he starts turning it, and then Juice also moves along and offers it up to Athenos. I just like that as an amalgam. Like, they have a very unique understanding of each other that's very based on their emotion.
And the other thing there that maybe was more subconscious, I don't know if you thought about it or not, was this was right after you lost Rig. You needed to hold a weapon just to feel a little bit more complete again.
When other people were up on their scene and I was tapping away at my notes, just background running, like, what the hell do I do for magic now? All I have is harmful things. I can't heal anybody because all I can do narratively, if I don't want to like spend time doing this Moogle chant, is bad breath. I had a pretty funny idea, though, for if I did want to heal somebody with bad breath.
Heal them with bad breath?
Heal them with bad breath.
Okay.
Zombie condition.
Oh?
And poison them.
Yay.
So that they heal from the poison.
Great. I'm sure Siri would love that.
So you kill them, but then you save them. I guess it works out.
You kill them with kindness. And by kindness, I mean deadly poison.
Deadly poison, though it would only be deadly if he stopped being a zombie. But yeah, I don't think there's like a good, clear way to do a lot of the very powerful magic stuff that Smog can usually do without his gun.
You did the Moogle dance to get Siri a bubble of water back, and then immediately after, you were like, if you say anything, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Not immediately after, immediately before. He took time away from saving a Siri's life to be like, don't you fucking tell anybody.
He had to threaten her to save her. That's not great, but
no.
From an outsider's perspective, it is funny.
The best part about that, though, is if questioned, I have to think about how, like, if somebody directly asked about this in, like, a future session or whatever, Siri doesn't lie, ever. She's physically incapable of lying. So I don't know if, depending on the situation, what she might say would be different if it was just, like, a passing curiosity. If somebody's like, is Smog weird lately? I don't know if she'd be like, yeah, he just did, like, a Moogle dance and, like, did this weird fucked up magic thing. Or if she would be like, just smiling.
In the perspective as Smog is specifically a magic teacher to Pony, would he be more effective at actually teaching her magic technique if he used this more naturalistic, basic ritual than this very, like, complicated but direct gun?
That is a good point, actually. I don't know.
Now I'm imagining, like, having Pony dancing around doing the Kupo chant.
Like she's doing some dressage or something to try to dance.
I was just going to say dressage.
She never dance, but she would dressage.
Wait, did she dressage at the party on Sequence Charter?
When Tao and Asiri were singing?
Yeah.
She did not. She was just kind of there. She was scoping out the room, just trying to see like what the score was with everyone.
We definitely need to have a dance party for Pony to show off dressage moves.
You're so right. Well, remember, Pony was a bit, like, ticked off after, like, losing the horn after that scene. Right. And she was a bit mopey during the party, so that probably explains why she wasn't boogieing down.
She had it all, and then she lost it all.
So we're now face-to-face with what will soon be the identity of the beast. We touched on, like, maybe it being Susie.
Susie.
Any other thoughts?
I'm a little more concerned with what happens next. I don't know.
Was the beast described with antlers?
I don't think so. I don't remember that.
I always just kind of imagined it with the beast from over the garden wall with the antler, horns, what have you.
Very easy comparison to make. One that we've made several times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if it'll be more like nega characters and it'll keep swapping in between different people. That it's
I love that.
Stolen the dreams from.
Could be. That would be wild. I love that. I love it when somebody doesn't have like a set corporeal form and can just easily move between those. Those are fun because who are you if you're everybody else?
Ooh, what if it just shifts between their beast forms?
That would be good too.
Do we think Paw's also a ladybug?
I don't know. I need to ask Dan because he didn't really give Paw a very like sharp description. It's because he was just in bed. I wonder if he is also insectoid or are beast types genetic?
That is a good question. Now, smart money is on Paw also being a beetle, but that's just because beetles are a full quarter of all animals on Earth, so you never know.
That's true.
Or a crab.
I love crabs.
Although we haven't met other aquatic shifters, right?
To be fair, we haven't really seen the majority of what the town can do. Most of the time we've been talking to people, they've been in their human forms. Susie showed us once, or like twice, that she can turn into a bug, and then Horsefly is the frog, and then Father Shade turned into a crane once to escape the fire from the church. But other than that, nobody else.
Silky Weaver's been spying on us before going down.
Silky Weaver is also a spider, true, but nobody else really was in animal form, so we don't really know what the general makeup is of the population of critters.
That's also like an issue of interstitial, like unless Dan wanted to describe a nice big crowd scene of a bunch of people shifting into animals, which he alluded to but didn't say what the animal forms were. It's hard to like get a ton of animal forms because that's more characters that we might have links with, which just ends up taking a lot of time and then gives us a lot of power.
We are not bereft of links right now.
No. I gotta start locking some links. I tried to lock a link with Horsefly, but I failed, and I didn't want to spend another link to lock this link. I knew Horsefly would be back.
I gotta be real, I've been rolling absurdly well, and I've like not leveled up in like 5 sessions or something.
Yeah, I need to check like how much experience points I have. I was gonna ask Dan that, but then I keep getting busy.
You must have one advancement by now at least.
I've done one advancement, but I think I can do another advancement.
Ooh, do you know what you're going to choose?
I don't know yet. Eventually, I want the water clone jutsu that Knucklehead offers, where she can make clones of herself using water, because not only is that like magic, that really ties into the whole classic unicorn thing where they were known to purify drinking water. And also, it's very much Naruto-y, and if there's one thing Pony does, she believes in herself, but I don't think story-wise we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, horses are also associated with water a lot in different types of mythology, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Kelpies.
Kelpies, Buganes, seahorses.
A very recent pop culture example is Frozen 2, where the water spirit that they tame is horse of a frozen lake.
I never saw Frozen 2.
I mean, if you liked Frozen 1, you should.
Circling back to what you touched on a moment ago, Alex, which was, what are we doing next session? What do we say to this creature?
Pony might be up shit creek a little bit because she and Horsefly did deal it some damage. And I'm pretty sure it got a good look at Pony as Pony sunk the harpoon into that thing's haunches.
I feel really trepidatious about saying this right now because I just did a D&D one-shot that Zach was running where I was a redemption paladin and constantly trying to get people to redeem themselves ended in most of the major NPCs dead and our characters barely escaping. But Pony could apologize.
That would require some self-reflection and humility.
Those things don't necessarily have to be internal if you have a manipulator who's teaching you magic around.
That's true.
Yeah, but Smog's only had one session with Pony, like one real session.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what his word is worth next time, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, a serious plan going into this is peaceful. What do you want? What made you mad? Can we fix this? That sort of, negotiation sort of stuff. Doing what she fails to understand in her world is her job. I have this notion that it might go south given the size of the personalities of our party and how upset Tau and Athenos and potentially Geyser has been regarding this whole situation. And if things do turn aggressive and we do end up killing the beast, in my head I'm like, what if Assyria's just like, come live in me? I already know the abyss. I'm here. You should not be treated this way. That's not my goal. It's just something that's been in my mind since we ended last session.
For Smog, his preference would be not to fight and to talk things out and to keep with the series' planned path. But he did also throw all of his weight behind Athenos and does regard Athenos with authority. Whatever Athenos does, he'll be behind. And I think the chances of a fight go up a lot if we get whatever this sun deity is around too. So I'm not excited to fight as Smog, but I am very prepared for it.
I'm mentally preparing myself for fighting the party if it comes down to it.
Siri might have to fight Pony because Pony is ready for the fight. This thing hurt her boy Horsefly, and it hurt Susie's paw. And she doesn't 100% know that this thing is or isn't Susie.
I just don't want to do that because I can just mentally envision the Siri just biting out the back of Pony and just ripping her in half. Because she's a goddamn shark.
Do that to Pony, but not the Beast? Jeez.
She has a light link with the Beast.
That is true. That was set up.
I don't know if I have a link with Pony right now. I don't remember. It might be a heart link, but either that or I spent it and I don't have one currently.
I definitely have a link with a Siri. I got it early on.
Yeah, because I'm a bit more loose with spending party links because it's relatively easy to get them back. So, I only recently reestablished my link with Athenos. Athenos was, gone from the Siri's consideration for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned before, but the combination of moves that Zach has makes it really easy for us to reform links if we have the opportunity. So spending party links that are not locked are still very easy to consider in addition to locked links.
I'm so hesitant to spend links when I roll badly and have the option to re-roll because I'm but I love these links. I've collected all of them.
A part of that for me is also failure can be really fun in an Apocalypse Engine game, seeing the costs slowly add up, and I get experience.
It's true. I also suffer from too good to use syndrome too, Carolyn. Don't feel bad.
I always have 1,000,000 billion ethers by the time I hit the Elite Four in Pokemon.
Every Soma and Persona I have.
I do that too. I will say, well, as Smog, I don't want to do a fight. Dan has set up the perfect fucking arena for us.
That's true. We are in the world of the lost.
Standing in front of a cave, everybody got the weird textures going on, this weird smoke coming off of the beast. There's just a feast we could do with our descriptions if we enter combat.
Oh man, I think people are going to be shocked by a Siri in combat.
Physically, everyone can see how big and strong Assyria is, but she's never really used her strength.
It's very reserved. She doesn't want to unless she has to, but by golly, she will.
I don't want to have to use the Thundaga. That's not going to be fun. It's going to mess with your sense of lies and where people are, and just fish don't like that.
No. Please don't do that. I won't appreciate that, but you'd have to Kupo dance for it, so.
Right, unless Rig's just there.
Yeah, I don't think Dan's gonna make it that easy, though.
Probably not.
We're gonna have to find it before we leave. What if the Beast has it?
No!
Would he be able to use it? You do have to load magic crystals into it, which doesn't seem to be a thing that happens in that world. But Smog is still at least able to draw that energy.
That's true.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but that's the only thing that I've really taken from Final Fantasy VIII so far is draw magic out of the environment, or specifically in 8's case, your enemies, instead of having an NP gauge.
What element do you think your characters are most aligned with?
Pony, most of her links are light links, but she also has a significant number of dark links. I think it's split almost evenly between dark and light with the occasional mastery, and she has one heart link with Susie, and then that's it.
I mean, as far as Final Fantasy element stuff going on, the most powerful stuff that Smog has been doing has been using gravity as transport. So I think, well, also he's the dark. Somewhere between dark and gravity magic is the stuff that he's really proficient with. Although I think of him as a sage in Final Fantasy who's not very good at physical things, but has access to all the top tier magic, as opposed to kind of the red mage who's a splash of everything, can do mid-level light and dark types of magic, and can do a little bit of smacking people around.
I think it's too easy to just say water for a Siri, so I'm not going to do that. But I do think that definitely darkness obviously has its own hold there, and even ice a bit, I think.
Siri also helped Smog using the Dark Portal this time by calling to the Abyss, because I made a case you're in the deep sea, there's all that pull there. There's a little bit of gravity involved too.
The gravy.
The gravy that keeps us tethered to the ground.
You're right. It's very important. It's very creamy.
As of right now, Pony is very much an earth pony. So I could say earth, but maybe that'll change soon.
Yeah, this isn't like Pokemon type. It doesn't have to be set in stone. It can change.
Juice is grass type and poison type.
Thank you, Bulbasaur.
Maybe more like Budew.
Baby.
Juice is baby.
Baby. Alrighty, so what would you have done differently if you had the choice, Carolyn?
If I could change one thing, Pony would have tried to drag a horsefly out of the shack with her instead of just bolting off on her own.
I think Siri might have stayed a bit longer in the World of the Lost. I severely debated that, just being alone there once Smog and Juice left through the Dark Portal. I have some questions about it, but I didn't know how to go about exploring that on my lonesome, and I didn't want to give Dan more work than I felt was necessary.
We also had some back and forth in character, like, oh, we did it. Well, what now? I guess we're done. We're going to go back and maybe go back here immediately because we're going to get dragged into the World of the Lost again, maybe? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
We popped out. Then terrible things happened.
And awful things happened, as they do.
And if there was something that Smog and Juice could change, obviously it would be that. Like, don't want to lose Rig there. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, that was a fun consequence to have. I liked dealing with it. It helped solidify some different relationships. I got to be completely on my bullshit. Wouldn't change a single thing.
Back on my bullshit again.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's get into the resolution phase, the segment of the show where we each get to say something about the game with no responses. What is your final say on this session, Carolyn?
I have a feeling Pony is going to not only learn magic, but also learn some hand-to-hand combat and physical weaponry. Hand-to-hoof combat, perhaps.
What about you, Alex?
There might be a redemption arc for Smog, but it also might be longer than you think. You can find me on Twitter at Shining Crowbat. I recommend Spirit Island. It is from the same publishers of the game that I mentioned last time. It is basically my second favorite tabletop game that is not a role-playing game. Most easily described as reverse Catan. You are spirits helping natives defend an island from invaders. They invade based on like different types of tiles that are on the island, and there's a lot of moving around your spirit's presence and the natives to help attack.
As for myself, Assyria is going to do her best to make sure that this confrontation with the beast goes as peacefully, as calmly, as cordially as possible. But barring that, she is going to do what she feels is right, no matter what anybody else says. Also, side note, she does have a lot of questions for Sierra if and when she does get back to the sequence charter, so we're going to address that at some point as well. Y'all can find me riding on horseback through the village when the fogs are thick. Just, don't look at my face. This has been Resolve, an afterplay show. You can find us online at most social media sites at ResolveAP.
Except Instagram, which is at ResolveAfterplay.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. You can buy the game we're playing, Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined, from its creator, Riley Hopkins, at linksmithgames.com.
All links will be in the description of the episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We end our turn here, so now it's your turn. Tell us what's happening in your game.